welcome to the deep dive. You've given us a really significant set of documents this time. Lots of news reports, updates, all about the fire at Governor Shapiro's residence in Pennsylvania.
Indeed. It's quite a lot to process.
Yeah.
A very serious situation. We pulled information from places like Spotlight PA, the Daily Beast, CBS News, KVCR, the New York Times.
Okay.
And also video transcripts, NBC 10, Philly, Live Now from FX. There's a Reddit thread, plus official statements from the Commonwealth and a briefing document, too.
Right, a real cross-section.
Yep.
So for everyone listening, our mission here is to, dig into this, get the essential facts straight about this arson attack at Governor Shapiro's Harrisburg home.
Exactly.
We want to look at, the timeline, who's involved, what happened right after. But sticking strictly to these sources you've gathered, no guesswork.
Right. The goal is a clear, solid understanding of where things stand right now with this developing story.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. The incident itself. When and where did this happen?
Okay, so all the reports agree on the timing. Early morning, Sunday, April 13th, 2025. Around 2 a.m., it seems.
2 a.m. And the location. That's important, too, isn't it? The governor's residence in Harrisburg, right there on the Susquehanna River.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And it's not just, a house. It's historic.
Yep.
Been the official home for Pennsylvania governors for a long, long time.
Decades, yeah. And the circumstances. This is pretty chilling. The governor and his family were actually asleep inside.
They were. And they'd just finished celebrating the first night of Passover, just hours before this happened.
Wow.
And several sources also mentioned they had guests. Another family was staying over after joining them for the Seder meal.
Gosh. So asleep in your home, guests over after a holiday. And then what? How were they alerted?
State troopers on site. They heard banging on the door, realized something was wrong, and got everyone out.
Quickly.
Very quickly, it sounds like. The governor, his wife, their kids, the other family, even their 2 dogs, everyone got out safely, thankfully. All the reports confirm that. No injuries.
That's a relief. But the damage, it wasn't minor, was it?
No, definitely not. Reports talk about significant fire damage to part of the residence. The state dining room is mentioned specifically.
Yeah, I saw some photos. Looked like charred brick, windows blown out. Really shows how serious it was.
It does. Underscores the danger they were all in.
Okay, so that's the what, when, and where. Let's talk about the who. There's a suspect?
Yes. Identified as Cody Balmer. He's 38, apparently from Harrisburg.
And they caught him.
They did. Apprehended Sunday afternoon, also in the Harrisburg area. But importantly, not right there at the residence.
Okay. So what do we know about what he allegedly did? It sounds pretty calculated.
It does. The report suggests he first hopped over a fence to get onto the property, deliberately.
Even with troopers presumably around?
Well, that's what's interesting. He reportedly actively avoided state troopers who were securing the place and looking for, any breach.
Huh. That suggests he knew what he was doing.
It seems that way. And then, according to reports, he forced his way into the residence itself.
And that's when he started the fire.
Allegedly, yes. Using what's described as a homemade incendiary device. Some of those video transcripts we looked at, they specifically called them Molotov cocktails.
Molotov cocktails, wow. How long was he inside?
This is striking. Authorities say less than a minute. Under 60 seconds.
Less than a minute. That's incredibly fast.
It really is. It suggests, a very specific goal. Get in, light the fire, get out. Fast.
And he left the same way he came in. Over the fence again?
Apparently so, yes. Climbed back over the fence to exit the property. It paints a picture of a quick, targeted incursion.
Has law enforcement said anything about his, mental state or intent?
They've offered some initial thoughts. Said he clearly had a plan, acted in a very methodical way.
Methodical, even though he was so quick.
Yeah. They noted he moved without much hurry, despite the short time frame. Which is fascinating.
But the big question is why? What was the motive? Governor Shapiro called it targeted, right?
He did. But the specific motive? That's still unknown. It's a major part of the ongoing investigation right now.
So investigators must be looking at a few possibilities, I imagine. Politics.
That's certainly one angle. Could it be related to his policies, his public role?
Or given the timing right after Passover.
Exactly. The potential for an anti-Semitic motive is, unfortunately, a very real possibility they have to investigate thoroughly.
Could it be something else entirely? Personal?
It could. A personal grievance, something unrelated to his office or faith. At this point, law enforcement is keeping options open, looking into all angles. They haven't landed on anything definitive yet.
Makes sense. Okay, turning to the legal side. What kind of charges is this Cody Balmer facing?
They're serious. The Dauphin County DA indicated they're looking at charges like attempted murder.
Attempted murder?
Yes, attempted murder, terrorism, aggravated arson, and aggravated assault against an enumerated person.
Enumerated person. So that means because he's the governor, right? A protected official.
Precisely. That status elevates the assault charge. These charges were expected to be filed formally pretty quickly after the initial press conferences.
And there's usually a document explaining the charges.
Right. The DA mentioned a probable cause affidavit would be filed along with the charges. That basically lays out the evidence police have gathered that justifies the arrest and these specific charges, gives the reasoning.
And it's not just state charges being considered. The FBI is involved, too.
Yes, they are. Given how serious this is, terrorism, attacking a governor, federal charges are definitely on the table and being looked at. The FBI brings in a lot of extra resources, too.
Okay. Let's shift to Governor Shapiro's response. He spoke publicly, right? How did he seem?
Understandably, he seemed quite emotional when he spoke to the press outside the residence. You could see it.
But he still addressed this situation.
Oh, yes. Very clearly, actually. And with real resolve. He made a point to thank law enforcement, first responders, Harrisburg Fire, Capitol Police, FBI. He even specifically thanked the fire chief for being there personally.
Shows how seriously everyone took it.
Absolutely. And he didn't frame it as just an attack on his family. He said, very pointedly,
right,
it was an attack on the whole Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
That's a strong statement. Did he talk about the violence itself?
He did. Condemned it quite forcefully. Said this kind of violence is becoming far too common and needs to stop, period. Didn't matter what side, party, or person it comes from.
A call for unity, almost, against violence itself.
Yeah, a very broad condemnation. And given the Passover timing, his comments on faith were really powerful.
What did he say?
He was very clear. This attack won't stop him or his family from practicing their Jewish faith openly and proudly.
That's quite defiant.
It was.
Yeah.
And he connected it directly to the Passover story, moving from bondage to freedom. He said he refuses to be trapped, basically, by what the attacker intended.
Wow. Did he mention the investigation, federal help?
He expressed full confidence in the Pennsylvania State Police. Said he'd spoken with FBI Director Kash Patel, who promised full federal resources. And interestingly, he also thanked President Trump for his support.
Okay, so some bipartisan support there in response.
It seems so, yes. He also talked about the personal side, acknowledged being traumatized, which is completely understandable.
Of course.
But stressed his focus was on being a dad, a husband, and getting on with his job as governor. And he also gave a shout-out to the resident staff, acknowledging the impact on them, too.
That's thoughtful. It sounds like a really strong, composed response under immense pressure.
It really did. Very measured. So let's look at the wider official response. Law enforcement, other leaders.
Right. The investigation is being led by the state police.
Yes. Pennsylvania State Police Troop H is spearheading it, but it's a multi-agency effort. They've confirmed they're investigating arson, attempted homicide, and aggravated arson.
And they're doing all the standard procedural stuff, crime scene evidence.
Yep. Processing the scene, collecting physical evidence, sending it for forensic analysis. All that's underway.
What about security at the residence now?
Crucial point. They're doing a full security review, looking at how this happened and what needs to change to prevent it happening again. Expect increased security around Shapiro and the residence itself.
Makes sense. Did they offer a reward or anything?
They did. State police put up a $10,000 reward through their tip line PSP tips for info that leads to arrest and conviction. Shows they're serious about seeing this through.
And other leaders have spoken out?
Oh, yeah, quite a few. Statements of support, condemnation from Attorney General Dave Sunday, former governors Tom Ridge and Mark Schweiker, LT Governor Austin Davis.
So across the political spectrum within PA.
Seems like it. And even beyond PA, Senator Andy Kim from New Jersey condemned the violence, too.
Yeah.
Shows the regional concern.
And we already mentioned FBI Director Patel, but the U.S. Attorney's Office is involved, too.
Correct. The U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Pennsylvania also pledged full support and resources. It really highlights how seriously this is being taken at every level.
Okay, let's circle back and just highlight some key details, maybe points of interest that really stand out from all these reports.
Definitely the timing, right after the first night of Passover. For a governor who is openly Jewish, it's impossible to ignore. It raises immediate questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And the suspect's actions? Methodical, planned, even though he was so quick?
Right. That less than a minute time frame, combined with the description of him being methodical, it's quite a contradiction, suggests real focus.
And the fact that another family was there, guests who'd been at the Cedar.
Yes, that adds another dimension. It wasn't just the governor's immediate family put at risk. Highlights the vulnerability.
Governor Shapiro's response, too, that strong, broad condemnation of violence, not making it partisan.
That really stood out, didn't it? A direct call against violence in society, full stop.
And the motive, while police say maybe no conspiracy yet, that investigation is ongoing, right?
Exactly. Early days, they're focused on Balmer for now, but determining the why is critical and could potentially lead elsewhere. It's too soon to rule anything out completely.
We saw that Reddit discussion, too. Obviously not official info, but it shows people are really worrying about the motive.
For sure. It reflects that public anxiety and the need for answers. We have to stick to the confirmed facts, of course, but you can see the public concern there.
And lastly, maybe the outpouring of support.
Yes, that immediate wave of support from community leaders, political figures. It's a reminder, hopefully, of shared values against this kind of thing. Safety, tolerance.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the absolute key things our listeners should take away from this?
Well, first, the core facts. A targeted arson attack happened at Governor Shapiro's home early Sunday morning after Passover. He, his family, and guests were inside but evacuated safely. No injuries.
Right.
A suspect, Cody Balmer, is in custody, facing extremely serious charges: attempted murder, terrorism, arson. The investigation into motive is active and ongoing.
And the governor's response?
Resilient. He condemned the violence broadly, reaffirmed his faith, thanked responders, and stressed his commitment to his job.
And thinking about what this means for, us, the listeners, what's the significance here?
I think it really underscores how vulnerable public figures can be and how political or hate-motivated violence can, quite literally, hit home. It forces us to think about security, about the climate we live in, and about how important it is to universally condemn these kinds of acts. It doesn't matter who the target is.
It really does raise some tough questions.
Yeah.
Which leads us maybe to a final thought for people to chew on.
Yeah, maybe think about this intersection. You have personal faith, very public service, and this backdrop of increasing polarization in society. What's our collective responsibility in all this? How do we help build or maybe rebuild a climate where people feel safe, where respect is the baseline, even when we disagree strongly? This attack on one family touches on much bigger societal issues that definitely need our ongoing attention.